Hello and welcome to week 6 of our Youth Alpha video recaps with myself, Antony.
And me, Darren.
And together we form Castish Youth UK, a movement which is about bringing young people together all across the south of the UK, as well as any other area of the UK where you may be from. But we're going to jump straight in with our first question today, which seemed a bit out there from what we were trying to connect to do. And it was, if you were stranded on a deserted island, what 3 things would you bring with you? Now, we made it a bit easier by adding in the rule that you had unlimited charge or electricity within whatever you brought. So if you did bring a phone or an iPod, you didn't need to worry about your charger counting as one of the 3. Now, we had quite a few interesting answers. Some of them funny, some of them were serious, but we had things like mobile phones, iPods, Kindles. We had iPad Pro, which would have everything on it, so you wouldn't even need to just bring a Kindle or an iPod. You had it all in one place. But then we also had things such as a yacht, a mansion, a way to contact the mainland. Some people said they would bring unlimited supplies of food or drink, and someone said they'd bring unlimited data for their phone. And then we started to get into things that maybe you wouldn't think of naturally, like £100 trillion. A teleportation device, a bed which has a TV that comes out the end. You all seen them? We had someone that said they bring a kettle which would already be filled with tea, so that it just counted as one thing, as well as chocolate and their knitting. Someone would bring a cruise ship. Someone just brought electricity for all their things. And Darren, he said that he would bring a survival kit, because what more do you need when you are stuck on an island than a survival kit which literally has everything in it for you? I said that I'd bring my ukulele because I just love my music, and I just love to be sat in the middle of an island just playing music. Very hippie-ish, I know, but sounds great. But it was one of those things that a lot of people found they were saying quite similar ideas. You wanted a way to contact. You wanted a way to stay in touch with the real world. We had one person say actually they want to bring their friends so they weren't alone. And I think that's the tough one, is when you are alone on an island, what do you bring? What is it that makes you feel comfortable, that gives you hope, maybe? And there's a program, I don't know if it's still going, called Desert Island Discs, where they had celebrities have to pick songs which they would take on an island with them. But at the end, they were told they now had to pick one book and they had to pick one object. But one of the books which they were always given was the Bible. And that is going to be our focus today, is how do you read the Bible? What is the Bible? And what can it mean to you and to us in daily life? Because I think for a lot of people, they might have been given the Bible for that Desert Island Discs and gone, why do I want to take this? I'm never going to touch this. This isn't easy to read. This is just confusing. Well, hopefully, we can answer any questions that you might have today on that topic.
So that is this week's topic, Bible. Why and how do I read the Bible? Now, that led us on to our first question regarding the Bible, because our first question was actually with Antony when we were talking about a deserted island, which we had some really good answers and some really strange answers too. So our first question then regarding the Bible is, what do you think the purpose of the Bible is today? Now, that's a really deep question in my eyes, because there's so many different answers, and it's so much different for each person of purpose for them. So let's look at what some of our groups said. We had things like, it helps us to know God. It's a blueprint, which I thought was a really good answer. And we had the best instructions before leaving Earth. We even had one person that said, it's a book, isn't it? It's a book about a bloke called Jesus written by 40 dead guys. Now, that's a pretty good description of the Bible, but there's a lot more in it than just that one sentence. It's a book where we can look into the past and see what we've got wrong. By looking into the Old Testament, we can see what they did wrong that angered God. And then we can look to the New Testament, where Jesus came and made a new covenant, so a new promise between us as humans and God, therefore eradicating all what happened in the Old Testament, all the bad things, and creating that new relationship. And Jesus spoke about just loving one another. That was his main message, which is absolutely amazing. And if we all did that, it'd be an amazing world that we could live in.
It's a timeless story. Whether it's true or not is to everybody's own opinion.
The Bible is so controversial.
Bit of wisdom, isn't it?
It's a good history book.
I think people take the Bible way too literally.
I guess a lot of people are lost in the world, and the Bible helps them find meaning.
It represents a path that people are supposed to follow.
Just a book, man. If you want to read it, you read it. But because people's opinions complicate everything, I feel like the purpose of it has been tainted a bit.
Give people something to believe in.
Yeah, absolutely.
To form some sort of unity.
I think the Bible is a guide on how to live.
Guidance.
Guidance, just the same way as any holy book. If that's what you want to abide by, and if that's the way that you want to live your life, then I think that absolutely it has a purpose.
So that is what the public thought, and that leads us on to our next question of, have you ever tried reading the Bible, and how did it go? Now, we had some really interesting answers for this, but let's have a listen to what the public thought.
I actually grew up reading the Bible, memorizing verses like every single week.
No, never.
I always kind of go back to the Psalms because there's like a whole range of emotion. And I feel like whatever place I'm at in life, I can find a psalm to correlate to that place.
I mean, I understand the values that it's trying to teach, but there's certain things that kind of I felt conflicted about.
Before it was just kind of a rule book. It was just a book that you just read just so that you got your mum and your parents happy. I didn't see it as anything important until I actually wanted to develop a relationship with Jesus. Then I realised that the Bible isn't actually there to condemn me, it's actually there to help me.
No, I've literally never touched a Bible in my life.
Those were some really good answers. Now, our group came up with some as well. One person said that they tried reading it, but then had to split it up because it just felt a little bit too much. One said that they tried to do a Bible in a year, but couldn't quite make that whole year. And another person said that they had it in an audio book, so they could listen to it throughout the day, and they found that that really helps. Now, for me personally, I actually just take a small chunk of the Bible, I pray before reading it, I read that small bit, and then I pray again. And I just wait for that part of scripture to digest and just to try and come up with an answer. Now, there are so many ways of doing it, and we all have our different ways of learning. Some people learn via reading, some people do listening, some even do things like looking at a comic book strip. And Antony's going to tell us about some of the Bibles that are available at the moment that we think are really good, and that for you to have a look at to see what is your learning style when it comes to reading the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Darren says, there is so much out there. I mean, even just by starting by looking at the versions of the Bible you can get, which maybe you'd see in churches, you have things like the New International Version, the King James Version, the English Standard Version, and the International Children's Bible, which you'd see as abbreviations of NIV, KJV, ESV, ICB. But then you have the other types that maybe aren't as traditional. Things like the Word on the Street, which is known as the Word Bible, the Street Bible, not the Word Bible, the Street Bible, which is almost a version of the Bible written in slang, to make it a bit smaller, to make it a bit clearer, and to make it a bit more understandable. You have the Lego Bible, the Minecraft Bible, you have the Code Bible to men, you have manga Bible, comic strip Bibles. You then have different things like the Good News Bible and the Youth Bible, which makes things a bit simpler. And it also gives you little talks and little messages throughout, which tells you more about the passage that's there, maybe something you can do to help you work on that passage. We have the Message Bible, which myself and Darren both think is brilliant, which really does numb down what the Bible is trying to say, but not enough that it takes away from the message. It just makes it a lot simpler and a lot clearer in the language which we might understand in today's world. You've also got things like the Soul Survivor Journaling Bible and things like study Bibles. If you're the type of person who likes to write down about things which you've read, maybe you have questions about it, maybe you have answers about it, or maybe you just like to be given little challenges, like in the Soul Survivor Journaling Bible. You might find they give you a passage and then they give you a question to focus on. Maybe that is how you learn things. But there is so much out there. And you even have a series called The Gospel According to, where it might be the Gospel according to Harry Potter, the Gospel according to Star Wars, to The Simpsons. I could go on. But they really do help to put elements of the Bible into things which maybe you feel a lot more comfortable with and that you feel you have a lot more knowledge about, where you can put that connection in, as well as different Bible studies about different films and about different books that are out now. But there's an app that you can find on your phones called the U version. And what this is basically a Bible on your phone. But it's not just one Bible. You can pick which version you read from. You can jump from passage to passage, but it also includes things like Bible studies, daily devotionals, prayer for the day, or maybe just one verse that it says, that's what you should read today. That's what I feel is talking to you. But what we want to encourage you to do is download that app and go and find the Gospels, Matthew, Luke, Mark, or John, and just have a read of one of those Gospels and try different styles. Find which works best for you. Start with the New International Version. Try the children's version, try the youth version, try the Message, and see which one you feel you can relate to. If you can't find something on that app, that's absolutely fine. There's no wrong way for you to read the Bible. It's what you feel is comfortable for you. There is so much out there. This is just a minor part of the list that I could give you. But whatever type of person you are, there is something out there for you.
So, what is the Bible? The Bible is a book, or more accurately, it's a collection of books. The word Bible comes from a Latin word biblia, which means books or library of books. It's divided into two main sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament is the larger of the two and includes what was written before Jesus lived. The New Testament is what was written afterwards. Together, the Old and the New Testament were written over a span of around 1,600 years by at least 40 different authors. Kings, scholars, tax collectors, philosophers, fishermen, poets, statesmen, historians, teachers, prophets, and doctors. They wrote different types of literature, like history, poetry, prophecy, and letters. The Bible is 100% the work of human authors, but Christians believe it's also 100% inspired by God. So how can that be?
One of the greatest English architects, Sir Christopher Wren, is best known for building St. Paul's Cathedral in London. He was the chief architect on the project, which took about 36 years to finish. As the architect, he carefully planned where each stone should go. And even though he never laid a stone himself, no one would dispute the fact that he built it. Sir Christopher Wren was the inspiration behind it all. In a similar way, with the Bible, there are many different writers, but one architect, one inspiration behind it all: God himself.
2 Timothy 3:16 says this: all scripture, referring to the Bible, is God-breathed. In other words, all scripture is inspired by God. The Bible isn't a random collection of writings. It's God's message of love to the world.
So as you've seen on the screen, there's been a load of different Bibles covering my face, so you didn't have to look at me for all that time. You just have to listen to Antony and look at some of the Bibles that are on the screen. But some of the Bibles that I use, or resources that I use, are things like Bear Grylls' Soul Fuel, a daily devotional, which is a really good book, and recommend it if you go out there. I mean, these are some of the things and how it's worded. It's all split into sections regarding different parts of aspects of your life. Another one that I've used since I became a Christian, this was kind of like my first Bible, was just the NIV version. And I wish I was introduced to the Message version first, because that was much more easier to understand. Another one that Antony did actually mention was this one here, the Soul Survivor Journaling Bible. It's got a hefty price tag, I must admit that, but it's the NIV version. But it has got different things inside, and I think personally it's well worth the money to purchase for yourself. And finally, I've got this hefty thing, which is my study Bible. Now, I would recommend that you try all the other things first, like those smaller Bibles. Even the app which I'll show you here that I've got on my phone. It's free. The app is free. You don't have to pay for it, which is a really good investment, obviously, because it's free. Try it out first. Find that version that you like, and then go out and purchase a paper copy. Because I think it's always good to actually feel the word in your hand as well, because books are always better when they're actually a book. I kind of miss it when I'm reading my Kindle. I kind of miss that feel of the book, the smell of the paper. You get immersed in that experience more. But one of the things I'd recommend once you get into Christianity and you want to learn more is to head over and grab yourself a study Bible. Now, these things cost an arm and a leg, and you'll have to take out a small mortgage to buy one. But it is worth every investment, every penny that you invest into it, because it gives you so much more information, gives you a really good commentary at the beginning to tell you what's going on behind that verse you're reading, what's happening in that land and that time in history. So you kind of feel more about what's happening within that verse. And then underneath at the bottom, I don't know if you can see me showing you on the screen, I might take a picture and show it, but it gives you an actual breakdown of exactly what's going on, so you can understand it a little bit more. I know it's called a study Bible, but it's not study as in let's go study like we do in school. This is studying done at your time and at your pace. There is no wrong way, there is no right way to read a Bible, and it's whatever feels comfortable for you. Don't force it, just let it come slowly and just embrace it. I started off by reading every single gospel. I couldn't even read back reverse back, not reverse back. What's the word I'm looking for? Recap. Yeah, I couldn't tell you anything about it because I just went zooming through all the gospels and going, yeah, that was great. I can't really remember what it was all about. So for me, take a small chunk, read it, digest it, see what it's telling you. And also, one of the things that I wanted to say to you is that when you read one verse this year, 3 years later, you read that verse again, it's going to have a completely different meaning because the verses are alive. The Bible is alive and it speaks to you in different ways at different points in your life. That brings us to the end of this week's video. Hopefully, it's been a little bit shorter than previous ones. I think we've done quite well this week, Antony, don't you think?
I feel we have, but we just want to remind you that we are here if you have any questions. You can see our emails on the screen now. You can find our website on the screen now. But don't forget to go and check out our other recap videos of Youth Alpha if you haven't seen them already. Don't forget we have a blog which comes out every Wednesday and every Saturday, where we will talk a bit about our personal lives, about what things mean to us, but also we'll give you a few activities that you can do. Maybe it'll be a new film that you might not have seen, a new band you could check out, a book you could read, or it might be a group activity, which we want to encourage everyone to do together. But we'd also like to say to you, as you'll know, myself and Darren are both youth workers through churches. If you are one of our youth, or if you are someone that goes to one of our churches and you don't have your own Bible and you would like to look into getting one, but maybe you feel you don't have the money for it, maybe you don't know where to look, do not hesitate to contact us. We will be more than happy to help you get hold of your own copy. Whatever copy might help you best, we will take everyone's into account. We won't just say to you, well, this is what we've got, take it or leave it. We want you to be able to read the Bible in your own way and in the best way that you feel is comfortable for you. But so we've reached the end. Thank you so much for joining us. And there's only one thing left to say.
It's goodbye from him.
It's goodbye from him. See you soon.
Cheers.